The BBM2 champ is here to reveal his best ball drafting secrets today. His favorite structure, his favorite player target, his favorite stacks, his favorite galaxy brain idea, and his favorite 18th round dart throw. I'm, of course, talking about none other than ChessLiam, the man who took down Ball Mania 2 for a cool $1 million. And today I am going to get him to spill all of the secrets to best ball in 2024. And then what he doesn't know is we're going to hop in a draft and try to execute every single one of his preferences and see if we can pull off the perfect ChessLiam draft. I'm Pete Overzet. This is the Deposit Kingdom. Let's meet up with ChessLiam. We're joined by the BBM2 champ, the proprietor of beatbestball.com. It is, of course, Liam, my former chess coach. Maybe we need to be current chess coach, bring that back. But Liam, welcome to the Deposit Kingdom.
Thanks for having me, Pete. Super happy to be here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw in the Discord the other day, but we have a chess club on chess.com. And, you know, like every time I play chess on chess.com, I'll get like some notifications. And I just assumed it was like guys in the Discord who were like, I want to be in there. But then I took a deeper dive the other week, and it's just like thousands of people from Indonesia that really want to be in this club with us. So I maybe you got an alert over there. Maybe your YouTube analytics will tell you something, but I don't know. So something to bring back maybe.
You know, we will we'll get back in the chess streets soon enough, but today I wanted to pick Liam's brain about some of his favorite things to do in current Underdog drafts. Right off the top, Liam, how many BBM drafts are you deep right now?
Around 60. Let me give you a hard number here. I number all mine so that during the even though they do list them in like order, but during the season, I know I'm at 63.
Awesome. We are kind of neck and neck. I just did my 59th today on stream. So we are on a very similar pace. And I did this similar show with Kyle Dvorak last week, someone I know you've co-managed teams with, and really enjoyed this structure where I kind of have you fill out a questionnaire with some of your favorite player targets, structures, strategies, and drafts. And today we're going to run through those, and then we will hop in a BBM draft on my account. And I won't even make Liam Venmo me the 1250. It's just on the house. But Liam, let's get right to it. Favorite structure this year? What is the structure you find yourself doing in the majority of your drafts?
With the wide receivers more expensive than ever, there's absolutely no fighting that. You know, like, okay, every once in a while I'll try an RB heavy start and, you know, just try to make it up with volume, but zero RB. And it's kind of funny because like this year, like what does zero RB even mean? Because if you only take like 6 wide receivers to start your drafts, you're getting running backs that would have been dead zone or higher as you're starting. So like I would almost say like true zero RB would be, you know, you wait until like the Chase Brown tier of guys, like the 120s, to get your first running back. But, you know, a realistic zero RB, and then I would say either hitting it with an elite quarterback or an elite tight end, or even both, where like, you know, getting like a Mahomes, Kelsey and a bunch of wide receivers, or Josh Allen, Kincaid and a bunch of wide receivers, where the QBs and the tight ends are cheaper than ever. You're getting your wide receiver firepower, and then you'll just go volume at running back.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too of, you know, these structures that mesh together well. It was one of the things that worked so well for Karain with his thing where he had pushed him to that 3 late quarterback start, because he knew since he started running back, he was going to have to make up at wide receiver in those other positions, what meant he had to punt, you know, quarterback. And so I do like thinking through, okay, a lot of the field's doing zero RB, the ADP lines up well for it. What is the next thing you're going to do to layer onto that? That might be different from how everyone else is playing it.
I mean, on your zero RB builds, what are you finding? When you like, what round are you taking your first running back? Is it around like the Ramondre? You know, like is around that like round 8, that like Zach Moss tier of guys, or sometimes even later?
Yeah, I think my default is that range, like so many people, you know, once the JSN, Jameson Williams, Christian Watson come off the board, and then boom, all those running backs are there. But to your point, in the puppies lately, I basically over the weekend, I did 6 or 7, and I did them all exclusive, true zero RB, where I wasn't taking a running back until like Devin Singletary, Chase Brown. And I did some builds where I had like 6 wide receivers, 2 elite tight ends, 2 quarterbacks, and then I took 8 wide receivers or 8 running backs. Sorry. I took 8 running backs to finish the draft and just going mega true 0 RB. And I honestly didn't hate how some of those turned out.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite teams last year in BBM was actually a 5 wide receiver team, which was just 5 elite.
I remember that.
Lamb, Debo. Unfortunately, Christian Watson was there, Gabe Davis, and another, and AJ Brown or something like that. And then, so it's kind of the same idea where you, and like I would say, like I would agree with you, like comfortably good 0 RB teams, like chalk good, I would say, is your double tapping Ramondre Zamir White, Zach Moss, Jonathan Brooks, whatever. But I definitely do try to push it, especially on something like the marathon, where, I mean, the team's probably dead, but I'm trying to finish first anyway. So just trying to hit like the Cowboys running back, the, you know, Chase Brown, etc.
Favorite player target, and I will say, I know Liam sent these over to me in advance, and I am so impressed that you didn't name a Buffalo Bill. Who is your favorite player target in drafts right now?
Well, I mean, there's like a million guys you could say for this, right? But I went with Jerome Ford, who Jerome Ford is now climbing in price. So most of my exposure was about a round or 2 cheaper, because he used to be cheaper. But what I like about Ford is you get a bet against Nick Chubb, who, I mean, like in real life, I don't want to bet against the guy who got catastrophically injured, but for fantasy football, I kind of want to bet against the guy who doesn't catch passes, had this really bad injury, got his ACL, got another surgery in November. Seems like the team is just kind of doing him a solid in Chubb, and then on Ford, okay, he's not the cleanest bet in the world because you do have Naheem Hines, who could steal some passing work. You do have Deontay Foreman, who seems quite likely to steal goal line work, just like Kareem Hunt did last year. But the nice thing about Ford is he's explosive, and I think it's pretty likely he will have a pass catching role. So even if Chubb does come back, I think it's pretty likely he will still be part of the offense. You get the elite to, you know, borderline elite O-line of the Browns. You get this Deshaun Watson offense, which is a major question mark as far as how good Watson's going to be as a passer, how much they're even going to want to do that. Ford has similar explosion to like Jaylen Warren, like same 10-yard split, has very good long speed, scored a lot on long passes last year, or long runs last year. And I really like for playoff week contest that he gets to play the Dolphins week 17, because the Dolphins are a team who could be like really, really bad on defense. They kind of pushed a lot of chips in the middle last year. They had some AG guys. They let some guys go. I mean, maybe these like younger guys that they plug in are going to be upgrades by default, but it just seems like a defense you want to be targeting at this point in time to me.
So this is a fun one to talk through because I haven't been taking a lot of Jerome Ford. I'll give you my counter, and I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard it, but to me, it's almost like a more expensive version of like the Chuba Hubbard play, where I feel like he has a time and place on teams. Like if I do have some, you know, I have a Zach Charbonnet, I have a Jonathan Brooks, I have these guys that might just be zeros off the rip because they're behind and I need some of those points. I know Jerome Ford's going to get me there, but it's harder for me to tell myself the story where he's the week 17 hero. One, because Chubb might be back. One, because he might be the one that has the wear and tear on him by that point of the season. Do you mix and match the type of teams you put him on, or are you kind of agnostic and say, I like Jerome Ford on any team?
I like Ford on any team, and like, okay, I think you can nitpick any player archetype, but like, you know, what if I said Jerome Ford's a cheaper Jaylen Warren? You know, what would you say to that? Like what? Why is Warren a full round above a guy? Okay, there seems to be only 2 guys, but now Cordero Patterson's there, so maybe there's not only 2 guys, you know? And
that would be the counter, that it's going to be more of a 50-50 backfield where Deontay Foreman has been kind of consistently good wherever he's been, and kind of earned touches, and maybe he's in more of a 50-50 backfield off the rip as well. But I definitely see the place for Jerome Ford, and I should probably get to him a little bit more. Favorite stack? Who are the guys you like dialing up when possible together?
Again, a favorite, I mean, so it's such an ambiguous thing, favorite stack, where I almost said I like going Josh Allen Kincaid or Mahomes Kelsey, but what I decided on for this was the ability to grab Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott when they're in the 90s, when you already have Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb, just feels super, super clean, where we're getting guys who have literally done it before. They've turned in top 5 QB seasons. Yes, they do it through insane like touchdown numbers, but that's what's the nice thing about getting it with their elite wide receivers. And so I really quite like that, never taking Dak and Burrow when they're in the 70s. And that's why I've always had them ranked in the 90s, because very early on I noticed that the market occasionally would give us these quarterbacks late, and it might be an anomaly of now, where come August, I don't know if this is going to be here, where the casual drafter is going to be like, sure, I won't take unstacked Dak. They're going to be like, this dude threw 36 touchdowns last year. Dak in the 7th, so if you want, or Dak in the 70s, whatever. So if you want this Dak and Burrow, who I really like betting on these guys just to simply be good again, I think getting them in the 90s could be like a generational opportunity of now in the market.
Yeah, it's been one of my favorite things to do with basically any of those kind of non-super Konami code rushing quarterbacks, where it's like, yes, there are some builds where you need to prioritize it, or it's a super. I had a couple drafts this morning on Best Ball Breakfast where it was super flat. And I'm just stacking up George Kittle with Brock Purdy. I'm just stacking up Amon-Ra with Jared Goff. But then you find yourself where Dak and Burrow go. There's lots of nice running back picks there. And you can essentially squeeze in an extra Jonathan Brooks, Jalen Warren, and then get those guys coming back. So I love that idea of pushing them. And it does kind of line up with your true zero RB stuff too, right? Where it's like you are hammering tight ends, wide receivers, boom, you're coming back, getting your quarterback, and then you start to address running back.
Or they could even be your second quarterback. Like you can grab a Hurts and then you can grab Burrow, or you could grab an Allen and have I've had Dak as my second QB, where I'm getting 2 elite QBs, but really not paying the price. And, if I was pushing back against myself, I would say that QB is weird on a whole, where the elites are cheaper, and Dak and Burrow I like, but they're really not that different than Jordan Love, or really any of the QBs in that range. Tua, any of them could go off for 30 plus touchdowns. And so I'm not hard and dead fast where I have to have Dak and Burrow. It's more when I have those elite wide receivers, I'm very willing to push it with these comfortably good QBs around to make it more unique and powerful.
And one other benefit on, if you are doing the true zero RB and you have a Chase or a Lamb, if you've started with 5 or 6 wide receivers and hey, I don't have many bullets to spend late on building out backdoor stacks, grabbing a Rashid Shaheed and a Jawan and a Derek Carr, whatever you're going to do, you need to line up stacks with players you've already drafted. You don't have additional stacks really to build out. And so I think prioritizing those quarterbacks at values when they pop up is really, really smart when you are doing those super wide receiver heavy early builds.
Yeah, and anyone who volume drafts, just some people err where they're I got to get my quarterback. I don't want an unstacked team. And it's funny because I posted the draft board and I never knew this at the time, but my winning BBM2 team, I had Chase and Boyd on it, and some dude just took Joe Burrow 1 pick before me. I ended up taking Damian Harris. The rest is history. Damian Harris had a great year that year, had a great playoff run. And so you really can live without the quarterback. It's just the most replaceable part of the stack.
Yeah, and it's funny. Now that is a theme of multiple BBM winners, because of course Fareed got repeatedly sniped on the stacks he was setting up with Goff. He was trying to set something up with Kenny Pickett and Freiermuth and settled for a Jordan Love, Jaden Reed stack that ended up winning him the whole shebang.
Boom.
That leads us to favorite Galaxy Brain idea. Last week when we did this with Kyle, he floated the taking 2 running backs from the same team, perhaps in an unconventional way. What is your favorite Galaxy Brain idea? And I think the people, love a good Galaxy Brain thought from ChessLiam.
There's a lot of things you could go with this. Just something I do almost every year is try to build some double elite tight end rooms. I hope that, the market's generally good at identifying the guys who will be really good. Yes, there's been several elite or good tight ends that have appeared at the end of draft boards in the past years. This year feels different. There doesn't seem to be as many late round tight end guys, where getting a Kincaid Kittle is a fun combo, where Kincaid, you kind of think will have more targets, but Kittle maybe some higher ADOT games, or Brock Bowers as your second elite tight end feels really good with anyone. Getting even like going like Kelsey Laporta or something, where probably bad advance rate wise, but gonna be more unique, and you just hope that you can out draft your pod at running back and wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think my main pushback to elite QB and double elite tight end maybe isn't the normal pushback that people have. I hate that it limits my flexibility the rest of the draft, because I know I'm done at 2 tight ends. I know I'm done at 2 quarterbacks if I did like a Laporta Kelsey, and I like being available to, holy cow, Brock Bowers slid a round past ADP. Cole Kmet slid 2.5 rounds past ADP, and I have Caleb Williams. God, and now I've already burned my 2 tight end slots. That's the only thing I don't like about the double elite strategy. All right, final question here for you before we hop into a draft. Favorite late round flyer here, maybe a guy who isn't getting drafted in 100% of drafts.
I settled on Will Shipley for this. Definitely drawing live to be a 0, of course, but I don't really take Saquon Barkley too much. I think he's just kind of like overpriced in the Eagles offense. No one is really willing to gamble on who the Eagles backup is. Kenneth Gainwell, we did that last year. I think we all know Kenneth Gainwell is not good enough. Will Shipley, elite 10-yard split. And I mean, this guy went 7 picks after Jalen Wright, I'm pretty sure. He went like ahead of guys like Braylon Allen and Bucky Irving, and we just don't draft him. Like, I'm always taking him in the 18th. Yes, he's drawing live to be a 0, but I'm more willing to gamble on these zeros. Like, I was taking Braylon Allen when other people weren't drafting him, and then what made him draftable? One little clip on an Athletic article, and all of a sudden this guy is in the 15th round. So if we get any clearance that Will Shipley is the guy after Saquon, could be wheels up for the ADP there.
Yeah, I think the point you made too, and I've had to get better about this as far as if you are making kind of a big fade early, how do you leverage that to be right in an even bigger way? And I guess the pushback would say, okay, well, we don't know who for sure is the RB2 there, but I do think the point you make, we know what it looks like when Gainwell gets an increased workload, and it's just not a super fantasy-friendly setup for him. Yeah, he's on the field a decent amount, but it's not going to be a league winner. Will Shipley, with his profile, who also caught a ton of passes and was pretty productive in college, that could be a league-winning profile if things break his way. And to get the double whammy of I faded this and I hit on the guy who could maybe carve out a little role or just be the contingent play, I like that angle, and I should consider that more too, because I only have a couple Barkley shares myself.
Yeah, it's something like I full faded Eckler last year, but my reflection on it is, at least during the season, like I was feeling great about the fade, but I wasn't feeling great about how I leveraged it, where like I didn't take enough of the Chargers backup. Now, you didn't really want anyone there, so that kind of just like worked out. The Chargers were a mess. But and the other thing about that's nice about Will Shipley is going to be on an NFL team. So yes, he could be a 0 all year, maybe Saquon smashes, whatever. But it's not like this guy's going to be cut and out of our lives, which there are certain players like Deontay Foreman. I draft Deontay Foreman. I think he has upside, but he could be cut and we don't talk about him anymore.
All right, Liam, I have hopped us into a Best Ball Mania draft, and I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Kyle one. If not, I'm springing on you the same thing I springed on him. The questionnaire wasn't just fluff at the beginning. I think we should set out to try to accomplish what is essentially the perfect ChessLiam draft and accomplish all of these goals. And in reading through them as we talk through them, I don't think any of them are counter to each other. I think theoretically we could pull them all off. Are you willing to try to attempt this challenge?
Did we pull the 102 too?
We pulled the 102 as well, which
is really nice because we, hopefully we get Lamb there. You can see I have Lamb ranked as the 101. Just because, like CMC has downside. Lamb has no downside to me aside from him or Dak being injured. Whereas CMC just, a running back, bunch of touches, he's older. There's a little bit more downside there. No.
Do you want to do the chase?
CMC at the 2 pick, just like for myself, but I'm okay with Chase if you want to lean into the.
I want to, my whole thought with this is I don't want to make any crazy ADP reaches just to like accomplish it. But if your favorite structure is 0 RB and you talked about Jamar Chase and a sliding burrow, I think we got to take Chase here.
Yeah, and I mean, Chase could be the 101 this year if not for being injured last year. Literally had a 50-point game last year. I think people are way too worried about Burrow, and I only take CMC at the 2 because otherwise you don't get any CMC, and I do want some CMC. But I like Jamar Chase a lot. I think you could easily justify him being ranked the 101, and yeah, we're gonna try to hit Burrow in the 7th round there in the 9th.
There we go. I also noticed, shout out to my guy Jason, OG Mans Fan 69. This is not a stream draft. I did not tip people off to this, but it feels fitting that we have a friend in here.
I think that's a sign that we're going to win BBM 5 together with this team right here, because how I discovered you as a person was I was a teacher at the time, and I was, flying out to play my one WSOP tournament of the year, the World Series of Poker, taking a shot. I was like, I might as well watch some poker vlogs. And I cried of laughter watching Mans in Vegas, like you hitting the vape, playing the 1-2 with like stacks of white chips and just fucking with it just had me crying. And then from that, I discovered you just before the 2020 best ball season. I was like, is that the Mans doing fantasy football? And that's how I discovered Underdog, and then I won BBM2 the next year. So small world.
Look at us. The Mans, now a best ball bro, and ChessLiam, literally in the name, chess guy, now a best ball bro. We started in different places but ended up in the same spot. All right, we started our 0 RB draft with Jamar Chase. We are now on the clock at the back end of the 2nd round. I do have Liam's ranks in here by both ADP and rank. It's Jalen Waddle.
Let's go H-Han instead and get our power RB.
Wait, I thought we're doing our favorite structure, 0 RB.
All right, no, Jalen Waddle. Yeah, let's do it.
The whole point, Liam, is you told me your favorite structure was 0 RB.
I forgot about that part.
Got to keep you on track here.
That was a test and you passed.
Well, what's so funny about it is when I did it with Kyle, he said his favorite structure was 0 RB and his favorite player target was Devon Achane. And then people are like, hey, it sounds like your favorite structure is Hero RB with Devon Achane. We are on the clock here looking at your ranks. I know it pains you to pass on Achane at ADP, but do you have a preference, DJ Moore?
No, it doesn't really. I like DJ Moore a lot. I'm also okay with Flowers or Metcalf to get more unique, which would be way more unique. But they're all okay to me. Like I like DJ Moore because I just really like betting on Caleb Williams. I think he could easily do CJ Stroud type performance with ideally more passing touchdowns. And I kind of fade Keenan Allen a little bit more amongst the Bears, and I'm really into Rome. I like more, but Rome could just be the one by the end of the season.
So this will be fun, just doing a little bit of previewing. So we're going to do our 0 RB and then favorite structure 0 RB with elite QB or elite tight end. So we can think about that. And then the grabbing the Burrow in the 90s. One thing that's a little harder when we reach on Burrow, although it probably won't matter depending on where or what the T. Higgins drafter does. Do you think we can get Burrow coming back to 95 is going to be the question.
I get him there all the time.
Yep.
And like on other platforms, his ADP is just there. Which is kind of surprising. I think of the two, I would rather go elite tight end at the 4-5.
Yeah.
And really just try to hit. I mean, you can even grab maybe we grab Ferguson in the 70s, and then we could even double tap Dak and Joe, or at least get one of them, hopefully.
Yeah, and we can, the other nice thing is with Waddle and DJ Moore, we kind of have quarterbacks all along the way. And we'll see what we do here at the 4-5 turn, but we're going to have lots of flexibility for stacks. But you called out Chase with Burrow in the 90s. So I feel like we definitely have to give that a shot.
Definitely have to try. If we do grab Ferguson, the guy at the 1 hole has Lamb, so we would have to like grab Dak first, and we'll see who grabs T. Higgins. Okay, T. Higgins goes there. What's particularly nice for anyone out there is if you notice the T. Higgins drafter, grab Josh Allen, grab Joe Burrow, or grab Mahomes, someone like that.
Yeah.
That's a real indication that Burrow is going to fall in your draft because he's really the only guy you got to dodge.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Dalton Kincaid's getting us sniped here. Lamar.
I like Amari Cooper correlates with Waddle.
Yeah.
I think we do that. The guy on the inside of us has 3 wideouts, and we can definitely go Lamar next round if we have to, if we want, or we could. Here he goes, Lamar.
I bet he's gonna double tap the stack here.
That would make sense. I think we go Terry then.
Terry, and then are we okay missing out on an elite tight end? Probably unlikely. Kittle comes all the way back to us.
I think we would. Because Kittle, I think, could be there in the 70s. And
okay,
I count all the way down to Bowers as elite. Like, maybe it's not elite. Maybe it's not elite by cost, but for me, Bowers Plus has elite potential. And even like, okay, I have Njoku and Goddard right after them. Those guys can fall into good years too.
We have started Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin. And like you said, all of these quarterbacks are going to be available at various rounds. So stacking is not going to be hard, which is something I like when we start with 5 straight wide receivers. And I'm with you. I define my personal grouping of elite tight ends is through 7, but I draft a ton of Bowers. And the way I defined it when people were having the debate is, how comfortable are you just taking 2 of these guys, right? And is the second one you're comfortable taking late? Like if you're comfortable doing Jake Ferguson and Mike Gesicki, then by all means, like play it as if he's an elite tight end. To me, it all comes down to how does it actually play out structurally in your room?
I would do like Ferguson and Tyler Conklin as like my 2. Mike Gesicki's a maybe. Like he's got upside.
It really kind of presses you, right? Because you would do Kelsey and Gesicki, right?
Like Gesicki's just not a guy I've taken a lot currently, but he did get buzz recently. And I actually like Conklin as like a not super athletic guy, but he could be Dalton Schultz. He could have a Robert Tonyan year. Major questions on who the second guy is for the Jets. So how do you feel about Ferguson? Because I really like him. Like, no, he's not athletic, but could literally walk into 10 touchdowns. Like, and not like too dissimilar to a Kincaid bet, in my opinion.
My issue with Ferguson is just how much I like Bowers. And so I've done Ferguson on Dak teams. I'm guessing I should look at my combos, but I'm pretty sure it's almost exclusively like Dak double stacks with CD, where I'm like, all right, let's grab these 2. But other than that, I'm kind of content just waiting the round and grabbing Bowers. So I'm actually pretty light on this Ingram Ferguson because I love Kittle and because I love Bowers so much.
I'm a little bit lighter on Ingram. Me liking Ferguson, I like Bowers a lot. I have a lot of Ferguson plus Bowers teams where I feel like I'm getting elite tight ends, but not paying the price. Ferguson, the nice thing about him is he will really randomly fall in drafts too. And again, it's like, who is the second target in Dallas to you? Brandon Cooks? Are we worried about Ryan Flornay? Are we worried about Jalen Tolbert? And okay, he's not the most athletic guy, which is pretty much a requirement, but he was consistent and he showed extreme single week upside in the real NFL playoffs.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's a fair argument. I mean, and if we look at how little they have invested in the running back position, they are basically saying, hey, we're a 0 RB NFL organization right now. You got to think they're slinging it a ton. I think it's a fair thing. I also think CeeDee Lamb could do again what he did last year, where he just consolidates everything and is just such a monster. But yeah, I get the Ferguson thesis. I think it feels a little bit more reliant on touchdowns for me than like 100%. A true breakout, where I think Brock Bowers could just vacuum up targets, yards after the catch stuff in a way that's harder for me to believe for Ferguson. I
like Bowers a lot, but he could do all that, score 4 touchdowns, and Ferguson could score literally 10 or more. One of the NFL leaders in red zone targets or end zone targets last year. It just seems like he is. And like, look, I mean, when you have the problem with a guy like Ferguson, who is like more borderline on the athletic sense, is like a Luke Schumacher could make him go to 0, right? Where like Brock Bowers is never going to 0, but I'm still comfortable taking that upside swing.
All right, we're about to pick. Holy cow. Kyle Pitts comes all the way back.
Wow, that's a gift. Got to take that.
Kittle goes off the board, Liam, and I'm like, man, we're not going to get to do this elite tight end thing. I know your definition's different, but you have him ranked at 56, and we're getting him here at 70.
Yeah, and this is me capitulating a little bit with the market. Kyle Pitts could be the tight end 1 on the season.
So we've hit our first initiative, favorite structure, 0 RB with an elite tight end. We did it, Liam. We are back.
We correlated it with Terry McLaurin there.
I know, which is hard to do because they normally don't come back around to each other.
I think we grab Brian Thomas and we're done at wide out.
I love it because this is going to send us on a trajectory of true 0 RB, and every single quarterback is available to us that we've taken as far as their pass catchers.
Brian Thomas is a guy I'm really high on. I mean, Calvin Ridley had an okay year. He almost scored a bunch of touchdowns. He's gone. Yeah, I mean, super high upside and seems like a quintessential best ball guy, Brian Thomas, where even if he isn't the guy the whole season, he should have some huge individual weeks.
I got good news for us, Liam. The drafter we've been watching, who has T. Higgins, took Kyler Murray unstacked here. I guess technically he's got his Rams bring back, but that is really good news for us as far as the Joe Burrow watch.
He needs another rushing guy. Get him Taysom Hill in the 8th day.
He seems like a Taysom Hill drafter. You know, I won't put anything past this drafter. Like 89, they might still do Joe Burrow, but they're clearly not, prioritizing stacking above all with this board. So this is setting up well. And then the question for if we get, obviously, I think the dream here is Burrow
Bowers. And the real question
Bowers is the dream.
Do you trust the inside guy to pass on Burrow? Okay, Bowers goes. Wow. Ooh, and we dodged the Kyler drafter.
He's the one who took Brock. So
I know. So is anyone on auto draft? That's the next question we got to ask. I really like Zach Moss a lot.
Okay, the only other thing I was going to bring up for you is if we are trying to extend the definition here, do you potentially do Njoku?
No.
You have Amari and set that up as another secondary stack.
No, because I can just so clearly see Moss being the guy you have to have. Now I like Swift too, but it's a bit of a disaster for us if he grabs Moss and Swift, I would say.
And they are all the top 3 by ADP. So what do we said?
Let's go Moss. Let's go Moss. We're gonna get Burrow.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think you're right. This one is going to sting. We select Zach Moss.
We're giving all the opportunity in the world to get rugged right now.
Yes, because we said in the 90s.
If it wasn't recorded. If it was streamed, no shot.
Oh,
Pete's
you're
stressed.
100%.
Pete, do you remember last year? When we took Laporta and then we got Goff to fall a full round?
You are right. Yeah, we did do our draft last year, and I was just sweating bullets because you had us take Goff, right?
It was one or the other. Either
it was like unstacked. We did it.
Oh.
I love it. Liam called his shot. He said, you take Jamar Chase, you get Joe Burrow falling in the 90s, almost pushed it to the hundreds. We get him at 98. Here's the team so far. We had our 6 wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas, Kyle Pitts at tight end, Zach Moss at running back, who also correlates with our Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase stack. We have accomplished our first 2 main initiatives here. The only thing we're not going to be able to do is the Galaxy Brain double elite tight end, but I think this is about as good as we could have hoped for otherwise.
I really like this, and I want us to talk about Moss and Chase Brown, who, by the way, I'm very willing to take Chase Brown on this team just to lock it up, because to me, getting the Bengals backfield right, just like so many times in the past, like I missed on Josh Jacobs, I didn't have enough Mostert, and I'm tired of it. So like there are definitely past versions of me that would have been like, screw Zach Moss, I'm taking the athletic guy and Chase Brown only. And that's how I started this year. I was all Chase Brown, I was no Moss. And then I thought about it a little bit when I wrote this article, deep diving all the running backs in round 8 and after to be like, who are the league winners? Who are the guys to be worried about? And it's possible Chase Brown dusts Moss, right? Like Moss cast off from teams, but Moss just seems so likely to be the goal line back. And the Bengals playoff schedule is at Tennessee, Cleveland, who we have some correlation, and then the nut of all nuts for running back, home against Denver. Moss to me is like taking a Najee Harris bet, but he's on the Bengals. He's not on the Steelers. And I like those type of guys on good teams.
I'm starting to float this take. I think Zach Moss and Chase Brown could be this year's Mostert and Devon Achane, where they consolidate all the points. The team just generates a shit ton of running back points at the position. I'm into that narrative. And lo and behold,
let's go Brown. Let's go Brown.
Let's just do it.
And I said in my article, like, I am willing to leave every single draft with one of Brown or Moss. Yep. And I'm okay doing both of them on some teams where now it's super clean, right? Like we get our second QB and okay, hopefully it's the run game week 17. Like who cares if it's Jamar Chase? You know, we got enough to make that up. Trevor's gone, Jaden Daniels gone, Caleb's gone. The prudent thing to do here is to take a running back, but Tua is there. I think we push it around.
Let's look at the Tyreek Hill drafter has taken Jaden. They might be interested. Let's push it because, like you said, is Tua that different than Kirk for this team, for Deshaun Watson? I'm willing to push it.
Click the ranks real quick because we got 10 seconds.
Yes,
it's Gus or Ford for me.
Well, here's the deal.
We said Jerome Ford. We gotta go forward with the article.
Liam keeps forgetting that this was written in stone. We have to draft Jerome Ford on this team. Not to mention,
I had to. We're doing a show here. I had to give you the option to steer us back on track. The benefit of Ford as well is running back wide receiver correlation, always something you should be targeting. It's both negative and positive with Amari Cooper, and we're adding to that game stack where we really hope the Browns tear up this terrible Dolphins defense, and hopefully that has the Dolphins throwing to Waddle and co.
I really think the rest of this draft is pretty straightforward. We're going to draft a bunch more running backs, and then it's just figuring out how are we going to handle quarterback and tight end.
For running backs, if you just click, we're clearly going running back. Like I feel like it's a big tier after Ray Davis, where okay, Kamani Vidal, like maybe, but 6th round rookie pick. Whereas like Rico, Lloyd, Wright, and Davis all have just such clear upside bets to me, where for us, I think we're ideally going 2 of those guys almost always at this spot.
So the question I would ask you about that, because I do think just in a vacuum, the players here, let's make this pick. Is it Rico for you here?
Yeah, let's go Rico. I like Rico a lot, where it's like, I like Zeke. He could be a big PPR scam, but I mean, Rico could literally just be the starting running back by week 6 or something.
Yep. The question I was going to ask you about not taking a quarterback here is, you're okay taking that 2nd and 3rd quarterback unstacked?
I think we ideally not. Yeah, let's go Marshawn Lloyd.
So Lloyd, yeah, because he is part, and just see if we can get this miraculous Kirk slide.
Yes, and like, okay, we got Pitts here. Again, Kirk is a guy that can easily fall 20 plus picks.
Here's the sweat. Here's the sweat. So it's the Johnny Bags out of the 4 hole is the team that has Drake London.
Dude. Johnny needs a tight end. He's got Luke Musgrave, tight end 1.
Here we go. Do Ben Sinnott. He has Daniels. Do Ben Sinnott. He's debating so hard.
We might be doing Ben Sinnott.
I know. We're gonna stick it back to him if he messes with
Johnny,
us.
you ain't getting Ben and Kirk, brother. You gotta choose one right now.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Johnny Bags. He's bleeding the clock. Does he know we're recording this?
He was so fun.
Oh,
whoa! Brandon Allen. Don't do it, Jacarmo. Don't do it. I knew Jacarmo was doing it.
No.
I knew he was going to do it.
No.
The Nick Chubb drafter was a lock to take naked.
What
Cousin.
are we doing? Oh, my God.
Okay, Jermaine Burton correlates. I wasn't really thinking any more wide receivers, but that's really interesting.
I say we sit on. I say we get a running back or tight end.
So not.
Okay. Whew. That was close.
You scared me there.
I was on rabid tilt.
Or did we want to do the Noah Fant Gino? Do we grab Gino here?
Who do you think we need to grab first?
Definitely Gino of the two, I think, right?
Gino's ADP is, yes, 172. But man, do we just hate ourselves if Gino doesn't come back to 191? Or I mean, Fant.
You mean if Fant doesn't? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what's your alternative? I would be okay going Burton and living with 2 QBs or 2 tight ends.
Let's see.
I really like Conklin, but
yeah, this is so hard on the turn. I want to default to you. What do you think? You want to go Gino? I'm okay trying it one more time.
I think if we're trying to get stack happy, we go Gino, and it correlates with the DJ Moore pick.
Okay, let's grab.
But Jermaine Burton is also very firmly in the cards for me there.
Yeah. The only reason I was holding off on it is thinking Gesicki does make sense, and we needed tight end more than wide receiver, and we weren't going to do probably Burrow, Moss, Brown, Chase, Burton, and Gesicki. That's probably a little too much.
It is a lot, but when it's so cheap, it's like it's viable, right? Because it's like we're getting the Bengals offense plus DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, all these other stars. Talking through our 14th round pick there, I think we should talk a little bit more about, because we could have done a lot of things, right? We settled on Sanat, Gino, which is fine. We're not going to be happy if Fant goes. I'm okay with the way we played it. It's obviously a little bit more risky, but really, I haven't even been taking that much Fant. Yes, the other tight ends have left, but he's still comfortably the target 4 in that offense, where there's other guys at Fant's cost where I can't convince myself that they're the second target. Maybe the higher,
I think it's my fault. I would like this one back. I agree with you that we should have either have done Gino Fant right there or do Burton and Sinnott. Yeah. And then just be okay with kind of an unstacked quarterback. The Sinnott one, we were really talking. I was just on such tilt after the Kirk type that I wasn't thinking clearly. I'd like that one back, I think.
We're sweating now. Do not do this.
Jay Caribo here, man. He does it again.
If you do. Jokes.
So we are about to. There he goes.
Oh,
God damn it, Johnny Bags.
Okay, look at the players. We got to formulate a plan real quick.
We got to formulate a plan. Well, we know we need to take. Do we need to get Will Shipley on here?
Not yet. Click quarterback.
Okay.
Okay, let's just go naked May. Are you happy with 3 here, or do you want to stop at?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay, let's go naked May. And then I think we.
You want to do Gesicki?
Well, wait. Click the draft board. How many picks do we have after this?
Just 2.
I think okay. And I think we grab Shipley now, and
yes.
then we'll just figure it out for the rest.
Yeah, man. This team was about to be so gorgeous, and then unstack Gino, unstack Drake May.
Yeah, but Gino is the guy getting us there the first 15 weeks, and then he's benched, and Drake May is now starting, and so it really actually tethers together really nicely.
I need you pumping me up because I'm pissed off about.
It would have been more beautiful with Kirk. We would have stopped at 2 QBs too. We get Will Shipley though. Correlates with Rico. It feels good still. We would have been so pissed though if Will Shipley went. He's usually there.
Yeah.
So we had to push that.
Do you? I mean, Foreman, Jatavian Sanders is a guy.
Let's get some Galbrain shit here. Lucas Kroll correlates. I recently moved him just a tad ahead of, God, I'm forgetting the guy's name, Dulcich, because dude had major buzz from 7 dudes. Athletic guy. Week 17 correlation. Lucas Kroll almost certainly never drafted in BBM.
Yeah.
He will be after this. I draft Greg Dulcich sometimes too, but if we're hunting week 17 correlation, how about the the Broncos, who, by the way, scored some garbage time touchdowns with Noah Fant to win someone BBM2, does it again, this time with Lucas Kroll, though.
Wow. Lucas Kroll to land the plane. Liam, we had some initiatives. He got tempted by Devon Achane, but we stayed on the wide receiver course. But this draft, the theme of this draft was about big ADP gifts and big ADP heartbreaks and near gifts, because we wanted to do the elite tight end. It was looking dire after George Kittle went a little earlier than normal. And then boom, Kyle Pitts comes all the way back around.
That's a huge
give us that elite.
I've never seen that before.
No. And if it does happen, it's Kittle. It's not Pitts.
No, Kittle is often. I've never seen Pitts in the 70s.
The other part of this was our favorite stack, grabbing either Chase or Lamb with their quarterback, Dak or Burrow. We, of course, took Jamar Chase at 2. We were sweating Joe Burrow coming back to us. We even let him push around the wrap, taking Zach Moss. And looking at what this drafter did, Swift Benson, they were definitely going to take Zach Moss with one of those two.
I gave Moss as the guy I like over Ford to you.
Ooh, okay. Speaking of Jerome Ford, that was Liam's favorite player target. We do grab him at pick 122 as part of our 0 RB build. Weren't able to do the double elite tight end. The board just didn't break for us in that way. And then the favorite 18th round dart, Will Shipley, we grabbed in the 17th. And then the only weird thing about this draft was the heartbreak on Kirk Cousins not making it back to 167. This would have really landed in a clean way, but what are your overall thoughts on this team, Liam?
I think the way you assess a team is more often how you feel about the top half. And I think we crushed the top half, right? Where, I mean, we got, by the way, Moss is an ADP gift too, because he's climbing. And once training camp starts, if we get like 2 reports that like Moss is running with the ones, Moss scored a goal line touchdown, he's a guy who could scream up boards into the Rachaad White range of players. He could also fall if it's Brown, but we're covered there. Really like our running back room where we bet on 4 ambiguous. I would say we bet on 5 ambiguous running back situations. Starting with Will Shipley, who's the RB2? We hope it's Will. Marshawn Lloyd, how much will he play? We hope it's a lot, and he will be playing, right? Like we get a bet against AJ Dillon. Rico Dowdle is drawn live to be the Pier 1 in Dallas. Ford is drawn live to be the Pier 1 in Cleveland. And then Moss and Brown, we will most certainly have locked up the 1 in Denver. And they are one of my favorite picks as far as guys who will be on the winning team, because I can just see it. I can just see the 2 to 3 touchdowns against Denver week 17. There's a big reason why I drafted Rashad Penny in BBM2. I could feel it against the Detroit defense. And then our wide receiver room is lights out. That's going to carry a lot of warts for us, even though we have strengths at the other positions, where Chase, Waddle, Moore, Cooper, McLaurin, Brian Thomas, all studs. Very unlikely Brian Thomas is going to be Quentin Johnston. I guess that's like the only possible, but I think Brian Thomas is just comfortably good. And then Pitts, a very huge upside swing at tight end. Sanat, a cheap upside swing at tight end. And Lucas Kroll, a never drafted upside swing that correlates for week 17 with our stack. Geno and Drake May, I would say, are the only ugly parts of our team. But, if they're just giving us 20 points in a week where the Bengals running backs score in the playoff weeks, we're happy with that to advance.
Yeah, this is a super fun team. I like how it broke, and it, looks different than some of my teams, but I do like what you said a lot about judging a team by the first half. And it is so true, because when you do look at teams in the back half, it's like, did you just kind of land on the 1 or 2 league winners? And sometimes correlation leads you to them. A lot of people took Puka and Kyron Williams on teams last year, but it is a lot about hitting those league winners. And again, we didn't sacrifice correlation. We actually have a ton of correlation on this team. Even like Rico and Will Shipley could be the 2 starting running backs in that game in week 17. So I'm being a little hard on myself for the Geno Drake May stuff there, but I think we built a very strong team here. Let the people know what you got going on over at Beat Best Ball. We, of course, drafted off of Liam's ranks, which you guys can get access to over on his site and directly upload those to Underdog. What else do you got going on?
Appreciate you having me on, Pete. Got to have you on soon to rip a draft. It's always fun. I really like the team we built. Got an article coming down. Just dropped one looking at total points teams at beatbestball.com, where I looked at what's worked the past 2 years, kind of some trends there. And I'm working on an article that should come out later this week on the late round tight ends. What has been commonalities between the ones that have been hits. And then I give my opinion on some late round tight ends I like this year.
Awesome. All kinds of great stuff. Also, make sure you guys are following Liam's YouTube. I will link to that in the description. If you guys are new to the Deposit Kingdom, we got weekly strategy and draft videos. These are all pre-recorded, edited. We do not waste any of your time over here. If you want the live streams, you can go over to the Pete Overzet YouTube channel, the Liam YouTube channel. But over here, we're doing some produced stuff, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hit the like and subscribe button.
Yes, what he said. We'll see you next time.